Okay, here we are. We are officially recording. Welcome to all of our viewers. My name is Ginger Wheeler, and I'm the editor of She's the Day at she'stheday.com, which is an online magazine for the queenager who wants to conquer her world. That would be women over the age of 50. And we still have a lot to offer the world. We don't want to be invisible. We are here. We are making an impact. And what we are doing today is launching our vlodcast. We're calling it She's the Moment. So the show is called She's the Moment, hosted by she'stheday.com. And our host is Janette Tepas, whom you can see there waving. Hi, Janette. And our very first featured guest on She's the Moment is Sandy Serio Gregory, the author of a brand new book called The Art of Traveling Italy. And full disclosure, Janette and Sandy and I have been friends for 40 years. Janette and I helped Sandy with her book, which she did during COVID, when all of her tours were canceled, which we were all really sad about. In fact, we were all together when COVID started. That's true. And I remember watching you, Sandy, when all your tours were getting canceled one after another. And Janette also is a tour guide and tour leader. And both of you guys were but you both faced it with such aplomb and courage. So given that little intro, I'm going to turn it over to Janette, who is our host. She is our official She's the Day host, and she's also, both Janette and Sandy have been prolific writers on She's the Day, and for that, I thank you both very much, because I know people enjoy what you write.
Oh, that's nice.
With that, I'm turning it over to Janette.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first video interview from She's the Day. I want to thank you, Ginger, for having us here, and myself. And we know that all the people who are the women of a certain age who read and enjoy and follow She's the Day are people who love to read. But there's something we love a little more than reading, and that is conversation. We love conversation. So I'm Janette Tepas again, and I will probably talk to this because as a reader, a voracious reader, I was so excited when my friend Sandy Serio Gregory decided to really rock the pandemic. And nobody rocks a pandemic like Sandy. So the guest is Sandy Serio Gregory, who is an entrepreneur, a tour manager, a tour company owner, and now a brilliant author as well, for what we know will be a best-selling book, New York Times bestseller, sooner or later.
Sooner or later.
So we wanted to introduce you to Sandy's book by way of a little interview with questions and answers about the book when you find it on Amazon or at other outlets that she can tell you about a little more. You'll be thrilled. It's a fantastic book. So thank you, Sandy, for taking some time out, because I know you're planning, hopefully, new tours for the spring now. So you're in the planning stages. So Sandy, welcome and thanks for visiting us. We're all in different places.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So Sandy, tell us a little bit about K Bella, the company. What is it? And what does K Bella mean?
K Bella in Italian means how beautiful. And I came up with the name of it because when you are on tour with people and you see a beautiful panorama, a beautiful piece of art, a fantastic building, a wonderful plate of food, a lot of times in Italian they say, che bella, how beautiful. And I thought, what a rich, artistic, loving way to have a company instead of great travels. So that's what I came up with. The company has been in business since 2011. I began with taking women's groups to Tuscany, and then it has evolved into full service, small group tours, and concierge travel services. So I do take groups on vacation, and I also plan trips for people who would like to travel privately and independently. We go all over Europe. We do some countries in South America, Peru, Argentina. This year we're going to be going to Patagonia and Mendoza, Australia and New Zealand. We were in Morocco. So while I do like to see my favorite sites, I also like to add a couple of trips to my bag of tricks every year just to make it interesting and fun for clients who like to travel with me over and over again.
Perfect. Perfect. And it explains completely what the company is. And taking the pandemic into our consideration, we found that obviously there was no travel. It was stopped, suddenly stopped cold. And so having a good deal of history, because your business began in 2011, but you had been leading tours much earlier than that.
Yes. Yes,
So,
I worked for another company, and we specialized in small group luxury travel. So it was, I was there for quite a while, since 2008. And then it was just sort of time for me to put my own stamp on ways that I would like to do things and create travel experiences for my guests. So I do a lot of private groups, a lot of families, a lot of groups of friends. My motto for K-Bella is conquering the world one cul-de-sac at a time. And I have people who now have been traveling with me 7 and 8 times. I know what they want. I know what they expect out of a trip. And, many people travel in many different ways. And it's just been a wonderful experience because not only are they my clients, but they're my guests. And, most of them have become my very good friends.
yeah,
And I really look forward to it. And they're like, oh, you know what we like, put it together. So I'm not a travel agent per se. I do not take care of transatlantic flights. That's a whole nother career in itself that I don't want to get involved in. But the minute you step down in country, we are in charge. So we specialize in small groups, and we do everything from, I have a couple who now for 4 times have had me drive them around different countries, just the 3 of us, because they have a certain way they like to travel. And then I've got groups of, I've had groups up to 32, but my usual sweet spot is around 8 to 16 people, which makes it very nice because we're really low impact.
So with no travel for a little while there, going on 2 years, Sandy took the time to create a book. And so her book is fantastic, and we want to talk a little bit about it today. It is called The Art of Traveling Italy, and it's an insider's guide to traveling fearlessly and wisely. That's your subtitle, right?
Yes.
And so we're wondering if you could explain perhaps when your first trip to Italy was. I mean, it sounds like it's been a part of your life, maybe your whole life. Why don't you tell us?
Yep, I think it has. I come from a family of travelers, but when I was a junior in high school, I was a foreign exchange student for the American Field Service called AFS. And I went my junior year to Oaxaca, Mexico, and lived with a family. And that was sort of my first international experience. So I think that experience set the tone of the person that I was going to be. So as a junior in college, I was studying at the University of Illinois, where all 3 of us were together. And I was studying graphic design and advertising, creative writing, but I did have a minor in art history. And because I have an Italian heritage, I wanted to go to the heart of the Renaissance. So I chose to go to Florence, Italy. So now in 1981, they did not have study abroad programs like every college has now. So I had to sort of cobble something together for myself. And I put together a curriculum that, that worked with what my goals were for college and for traveling abroad and having a really good time in Europe. And I studied with the Florida State Study Program in Stanford. And so I lived on Santa Croce Square with 3 other girls in a big, huge cavernous apartment. And I went to school almost every day, Tuesday through Thursday. We studied very hard. And Thursday after school, we would hop a train and pick somewhere to go and then show back up Monday night and do it all over again. So not only was it a great study and, culturally enriching, it was just a lot of fun, and we had the opportunity to really have a good time traveling on a shoestring. So one of the things that I did when I was there as well is I did all the cooking for all the people in my curriculum, well, a good chunk of them. And so we would gather our lira, and I had my cheese guy and my wine guy, and my bread gal and my vegetable lady. And that's kind of how I
You mean the
learned my
store?
Italian.
You
Yeah,
mean the
I would
shop?
just every day after, I would sort of figure out what should I make, and they'd give me their recipes, and I would walk around town to all of my places, and we would talk. They would correct my pronunciation. We would go through and we would learn things. I'd get all the gossip from around town and come home, and I'd zip up something, and all the kids would come, and we would have dinner together, and it was a really, really fun, exciting, enriching experience for a junior in college in 1981.
Ah, yeah. It sounds like you really found it almost home-like it was a home that you had not been to yet.
Oh yeah, I felt very, very comfortable there. I still do. As you know, when we touch down and you're there for the first time in the season, and your heart is, a little pitter patter, and you walk into Piazza della Signoria, and suddenly there's, all of the
Home.
statues and the Loggia di Lanza, and everything that is just right there. It's just sort of like, I'm home. Okay, that's good. Now we
Good.
can get on with it and get to work.
And
So you thought about
can I just add one thing, Phil, just to make a point that you got when you were working for that other company, Sandy, when you first started as a tour guide, you guys both did it together.
Oh yes.
sometime?
Worked at the same company, and so you were traveling a lot together in Europe. So you're both
yes.
very familiar with, the European landscape. And I remember hearing about that about 10 years ago or whatever, and thinking, wow, that sounds really fun.
It was so much fun, and I have to tell you, it was such an extraordinary experience because it was a small startup company, and we were the first of the tour. They referred to us as tour captains, and so not only did we lead the tours that were already established, but we were also very involved in doing lots of research and coming up with more ideas and more places, and looking for hotels and restaurants and experiences, and that was a lot of fun as well. So not only were Janette and I, we called them running parallel tours. She would have a group, I would have a group. We'd wave to each other across the square. But in between tours, there were about 4 or 5 of us who were very, very close friends. And we would get on our little flip phones, and do our texting and say, well, where are you going? I'm on a train to here. I'm going here. And you would just go to the train station and say, okay, well, she's there. I'm going to go there. And we'd all pile in a room and save our euros and buy boots.
True. And so we often researched using books, guidebooks. However, when you decided to write your book, you didn't want to write a regular guidebook, and it's so much more than that. What would you say makes your book different than other books on travel?
So there's a lot of books that you can get where you've got my favorite hotels and my favorite restaurants and the favorite sites, and this is where you go and this is how you do it. My book is a little bit more of a personal memoir that I have gathered through the experience of taking groups on vacation, because sometimes people have never traveled before. Sometimes things don't go right. Sometimes it's the only time that they will ever see something, ever, and they will never be back again. They broke the piggy bank. Other people travel all the time. And, to continue to try to create some mystery and excitement about a place. There are personalities. There are things that go wrong. There are strikes. There are weather issues.
Right.
And,
right.
I've been through it all. And so when, there's a lot of people who don't need me, they know what to do. But there are a lot of people who have a little bit of a nervousness about traveling. And, we've all gotten lost. We've all gotten on the wrong train. We've all did lots of different things where, remember that? Where, we've had to learn how to think on our feet. And I think it's that's what makes traveling so special. Is because it's a learning thing, it's a healing thing, it's a way to get out, to take a look at your own world from the outside in. And so each one of the chapters in my book begins with a memoir of a travel experience in my life and what brought me to this point. So it's a very personal book. It's written in my voice, and I think that, when you get to know me, you're like, oh yeah, okay, I see how you wrote that. And it's something that I always wanted to do. And when the pandemic hit, my sister, in a not so gentle way, said, okay, that book that you were going to start writing, possibly a good time to do it now. And I just started, and it got me through these last few years with a continued level of excitement that we will be traveling again.
Like having a baby. So it is different than other guidebooks, but it also has, besides the memoir information, other information. So would you say independent travelers could purchase your book and use it as their own way of getting around as well?
I think so. I mean, I think that it's through my company Cabela, certainly, and there are links to it. That's where the details of an itinerary that we can put together for you will be. So it's not necessarily all the information that you're going to get about Arezzo and all the information on where you go in Rome, where the walks are. These are all things that you get when you come and you travel with me. But essentially what this is it takes the mystery out of, sitting down at a restaurant and figuring out how the menu works. Regional cuisine. I have so many people who want to order spaghetti and meatballs, or don't understand why they can't get, a risotto on the Amalfi Coast. But so this kind of breaks it down into
your book, you mean.
How do you actually maneuver in a train station? What is the best way to find the best flights to get there? A lot of things about how you can drive or not drive or get drivers, how to look at art and make it fun. There are so many people who really never go to art museums or take a look at architecture when they're at home, and they don't really understand, why do people like to do this? How do you make it fun? How do you look at a sculpture? How do you look at a painting? And I take it from my point of view, because you don't always have to say, it's strong but not unctuous. But you can bring a memory back. Wow, that looks like my Uncle Phil. Make it fun. Make art something that you can be part of your life. It's not a mystery. It's really a wonderful thing, and it shouldn't be elevated to some snooty conversation.
So I assume you speak some Italian, and do you think it would help other people to know a little bit of a language?
Yes, I would have to say that language is not my strongest suit, because what I've realized is that I am what you call a kinesthetic learner, which means I need to experience something in order to have it stick in my head, rather than looking at a book. So all those years in high school and college when I was taking Spanish, Italian, and French, and then Italian, and it just went in one ear and out the other. So what I have found is that when I'm in country, it takes about 2-3 days, and it all just sort of floods into my head. And no, this is not an apple, it's a miele. It's, this is not honey, it's miele, it's a tazzo, it's a bicchiere. And so I would have to say, I get more comfortable getting into the swing of speaking once I'm there. And the reason that I want to try so hard to get better and better every year is because I think it's really respectful to the people that I work with. And it also makes it more fun for me. It makes it more fun for them, especially when they giggle at the things that I say. And it makes it a lot of fun for my guests. So, during our tour, they get a lot of basic Italian, and it's very fun to see them start talking and speaking and, giving it a whirl. And I think it just makes it, it just expands your horizon in the country.
That makes sense. So then you pick it back up. I find I do the same thing. If I'm not speaking a language, whichever country, at home, I sort of, it's out of context. So
Yes.
when it's in context, it's easier, and you help them learn a little bit of the language so they can function a bit too. So another thing about the culture is about cooking. So I'm curious, there are a lot of wonderful recipes in your book, The Art of Traveling Italy. And why include recipes in a travel book?
Because we need to understand regional cuisine, and we need to understand that, especially in Italy, cuisine is a big part of the Italian travel experience. So, I grew up in a family of Italian cooks, although my Polish mother is the best Italian cook in the family. And I've taken a lot of regional cooking courses, spent a lot of time bugging the guys in the back of the kitchens of the restaurants that we're at to get their recipes. Yeah, you wouldn't believe what I had to do to get the cheese pudding.
Oh, yeah?
When we travel in Italy, we need to understand that cuisine is regional. What you get in Milan is much different than what you get in Naples or what you get in the Marche. They all have very, very specific types of food that they have, that they make, that they eat all the time. I mean, when you are in Europe, unlike the United States, they don't wake up in the morning and go, I don't know, I'm thinking sushi tonight. What about you? No, they have the same thing over and over and over again. And it's what they love. It's the way they eat. It's how they work things. And it's a big part of when you sit down and you take a look at a menu in Italy and you're like, well, they don't have chicken Parmesan. Well, no, they don't. So what I wanted to do is just do some of the favorite recipes that I like with dishes that you are actually going to find on regional menus. So this way, when you get the book and you're getting ready and you're planning your trip, you can make a couple and get yourself ready so that when you get there, you can say, yep, there you go. That's what I want to make. That's what I want to order. Or after your trip, you can say, I really want to make the brodetto or the olives escalada. And I want to make that because I had good memories of it. So if anybody uses my book and they go and travel and they come up with a couple of suggested recipes that they thought were just fantastic when they were traveling, email me. I'll be happy to put it in the second edition.
Oh, how nice. How nice. That's a great idea. So do you think that now, winter 2022, is a good time to think about traveling to Italy?
Well, all I have to tell you is after the past few years, I couldn't think of a better time to think about traveling, period. I think it's been brutal, especially for us who are used to traveling constantly. I mean, I'm on the road for a good 6 months out of the year. I spend a lot of time on trains and planes and in hotel rooms. And I probably would say, and I'm sure you guys know this, I am the epitome of the extrovert. I gather my energy from being around people. So I think for those of us who are used to this type of life, it's been hard. And I feel like right now people are chomping at the bit. And I think the impact of getting away on any kind of an adventure, hopefully it will be an Italian adventure with me, after these past few years of just hunkering down, it's going to be really uplifting. I mean, I know after my first trip a few weeks ago, my heart opened up and I felt expansive and I felt renewed. And then I got COVID, but
Well, now you're super immunized.
I am super,
and I got it too. So
and some antibodies. So travel has always been part of people's lives, and I think it's going to be more. It's going to be more important than ever as the world starts to slowly open up. Right now, most of the Northern Hemisphere is experiencing what I hope is the last surge of COVID. In Italy, vaccination is slowly becoming mandatory. And in my experience and with the guests that I have sent there in the last few months, they put really strong procedures in place for tourists. Masking everywhere.
Right?
Yes. Masking everywhere indoors is mandatory. There's strict rules for social distancing, and they're monitoring the amount of, skip the line reservations, they're allowed. So while you are waiting a little longer, which are all, to me, just a minor annoyance, to get your temperature checked and your, passport, what they're calling a vaccination passport. Once you're in the museum, I have to tell you, it's a lot less crowded and a little bit more enjoyable, I think. So I think that, that's going to be something we're going to have to deal with quite a while. And I think it's going to be a minor annoyance, but I really don't think it's something that should discourage people from actually traveling. We are having some challenges arranging tours and booking services. For example, if I have a group of 8 people, it used to be I would have one motor coach for 8 people. Now I have to have 2 motor coaches because I have to comply with social distancing regulations. Gas prices are astronomical right now. So all of these things are affecting tour prices. Some small businesses, hotels, and restaurants that I have frequented didn't make it through. So while I'm trying to book some things and book some activities and services, some of them they're not in business anymore. So we're having to take a new look. I'm going to be going pretty soon and doing a sweep through with all of my in-country partners and, taking a look and see what we've got to work with. But luckily, K-Bella, we are solid and we have deep partnerships throughout the countries and we're staying on top of it. Every time I will say something in a couple of weeks, it will be totally different. So, I think just like a lot of people, I want so badly right now to, arrive back home in Italy to the welcoming smiles of my Italian friends. And I want to see their faces emerging from these face masks. Because, we Italians speak with our facial expressions and our hands. So the masks have made a lot of things be really lost in translation. So I want to sit in a noisy, crowded cafe and do cheek kisses and, all the things that make you feel like you're in Italy. And it will happen.
So do you have hope of traveling again this season, like this spring, this summer, or are you pushing off for another year?
And, I am holding off right now. I'm making any solid decisions for my guests. Okay. There is travel. And what I'm doing is all of the things that I am booking are going to be, booking fully refunded hotels. I'm holding off on making any kind of solid plans that we can't change. Okay. So we are sort of in a holding pattern right now. My plan is to go in May. That's when I have my first trip. And my guests will be starting. And we're just going to sort of see in the next few weeks how that's going to go.
Great.
But we're moving forward.
So you have people talking to you now and someone might get a hold of you today or in the near future to look at this year potentially, or actually if say somebody didn't want to travel this year and they're going, I think I'm going to put it off a year, would it behoove them to get a hold of you now and start kind of planning? Sure. Or is it too early?
To get pricing, it's too early, but it's never too early to start planning on things that you might want to do. I've got 25 tours in the cooker this year. Okay. Some of them are taking me and some of them will be traveling independently with concierge travel services. They're not all in Italy. We've got a lot of stuff going on in the UK this year as well, in France, which I think might be my next book. And so we are moving forward because Europe is itching to get people back there. And, it's happening. People are traveling. You got to be vaccinated. You're going to have to take tests every time you get on an airplane. There are going to be safety precautions put in place. I think it's going to be an annoyance, but it shouldn't be a deterrent.
Okay. So they can travel with you 2 ways. You can either be with them if there is a group, or they can travel independently. And would you say you prefer sort of the smaller groups to like the cruise ships? Are cruise ships coming back? I don't even know. And there's a difference between going on a cruise and touching your toe in Rome or going with a small group in Rome, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm certainly not a cruise person. That is not my niche, nor is it a way that I like to travel. I think that the issue of over tourism was huge before the pandemic. I think that our world is going to it's going to profit from having a bit of a rest during this time. I think that people are going to rethink the way they travel. I think they are going to maybe forego some of the bucket list items and perhaps travel a little bit more slowly in smaller groups, uh, take up less space, not tackle everything that they used to tackle, and just maybe absorb a little bit more. One of the things that I talk about in the book and that I hope we all can do is learn, as I have in my tagline, how to travel fearlessly, but also how to travel wisely and respectfully, and not be an American in Paris, but be an American who absorbs the French culture or the Italian culture or the Spanish culture and be a good citizen of the world. And I feel like our niche and small group tours allows us to be under the radar. We don't have flags and hats and buttons and, have everybody be following us. And we can create experiences that are specific to the soul of the people that want to travel with us.
Okay. So in the meantime, to maybe even start planning, where can we buy the book?
Right now, the book is available on Amazon.com
Okay.
in Kindle version, a paperback version, and a hardcover version. So you can order any there. It's also on Barnes and Noble, but it's a little bit more expensive it's winding up more expensive on Barnes and Noble. So I would say do that. I am also offering hardback versions on my website that I can add chocolates for a Valentine's Day present, or throw a trip to Italy in there as part of the present.
Yeah.
And they're my author signature package, so I can personalize it and I can sign it and I can send it to somebody directly. So that's how we are selling the book. Right now, we are a #1 new release in 2 categories, so that's very exciting.
It is.
And I'm just sort of hoping that the way it's going to be is that through word of mouth. Hey, guess what? She really knows what she's doing and she's a lot of fun. I think I might want to travel with her. That's kind of it. I think it's fun, it's funny, it's enjoyable, it's a pretty book. If you get either of the 2 printed versions, you can just send me an email and I will send you a PDF version with links that you can put onto your device when you travel. So you don't have to lug the book around, and you can just have all the little good information at your fingertips. So that will be included in the price of any one of the printed books. Yes.
That's a great deal, a terrific deal. So you're getting the PDF version automatically that or they email you, or?
Yeah. So it will be in the book, and it's Sandy at K Bella Tours, and you can, it's printed in the book, and just show me your proof of purchase of the printed book, and I will email you the PDF version of the whole thing.
Super. That's a great deal, and a big help too, because it's a gorgeous book, but lugging big heavy books is not the easiest. But you do have a lot of information, I feel like, within the book that people could use while they're on a trip.
Yes,
While
absolutely.
they're on the road, so they've got their iPad. They can put it on their iPad or their phone.
They can put it on their phone, whatever they want to do, and it will have all of our beautiful pictures in it, of which you have, you have contributed to the book.
So that's a wonderful opportunity to be able to have 2 copies with just purchasing one, right?
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Ginger, how are we doing on time?
Yeah, probably got to think about wrapping it up. I know the 3 of us could probably talk all day, but I know we have the other things to do. So, and I think we've really given our listeners or viewers on our vlodcast, I don't know if I did that word or not, but a lot to think about. And I've shown the website again, where you can get more information at kbellatours.com. And yep, here it is. And then also, just to remind people to check out she'stheday.com. There's no apostrophe in it, just
Right.
SHESTHEDAY.com. And check out the different articles and information on there. Some have been written by both of you, and hopefully more to come in the days ahead.
So will this, if somebody goes to She's the Day, will this be linked in there to read
Yes.
the video and
Yes.
your videos, of which
Yep.
there'll probably a whole network sooner or
Yep.
later?
Yep, exactly.
Great.
So
Thank you, Sam, for taking the time to tell us a little bit about your book and your history and why you wrote it and how you wrote it and what we can find in it. That's wonderful.
yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been very exciting. I've never done anything like this before, and I'm glad it's with my old friends.
We're all adventuring into new territory here together. So
Yes.
that's exciting. And with that, I'm going to stop the recording, and hopefully our readers at she'stheday.com will add comments, and we can
Question?
answer them as they come in.
Okay.
Questions?
Ci vediamo presto.
Bye-bye. Now you guys stay. I'm going to stop the recording, and we will then wrap everything up.
Okay.
Okay.
This takes like a minute.